All right, what's up, everybody? Today is going to be story time. I had a story that I wanted to share. Obviously, it's going to be about how I'm with my girlfriend now and what I had to do to get to that point. Because it was not a straightforward type of path to get there. There was actually a bunch of dumb stuff that happened. So let's get into it. So, what year was this? I guess this was like around 2011, maybe something like that, maybe 2010-ish, 9, in between 11, something like that. I'm at a show, and I'm going with my friends to go see, man, it was basically like lizard people, essentially, who were going to be playing music on stage, and these were friends of friends, and they're like dressed up as lizard people. They're all going to be jamming, and they're going to be doing like a sing along type thing. So I was invited. Of course, I'm going to this because what is that? So I go there. Hilariously enough, it's pretty much like destiny. I wasn't able to get in because I was so dumb. I left my ID at the house. So when we got there, like you needed the ID to get in. They wouldn't let me in. So I was like stuck out. So me and my friends were all just smoking out in the parking lot. Like we brought guitars and stuff. We were playing, in the parking lot, whatever. This car pulls up next to us, right? And they're just sitting there. We're both just like chilling out in the parking lot. We're almost about to leave basically because we're like, oh, well, you can't get in. So, I mean, let's just go do something else. You know what I mean? Uh, but it's like these bunch of girls in this car next to us. And we're like, well, I mean, we should at least try and talk to them. I mean, that's pretty hilarious that they pulled up right next to us. So I open the car door and I start like striking up a conversation with them. Well, one thing leads to another. They were there for the same show. So they actually knew, the friend of a friend. And we had never met these people in our life. And I was like, wow, I mean, small world, not that small, but pretty crazy anyways. So we get to talking, right? And I get to talking to this one girl, and this was going to be my girlfriend at the time. Her name was Shelby. So I got all her information, whatever, started text to her, met up with her, and over the next year we would start dating, right? So we're dating, things are going good, we're in Texas, chilling out. We go to the grocery store one day, right? And when we're in the grocery store, uh, my girlfriend Shelby saw this other girl that she had seen on Instagram and like online. She had like some cool online profile. So she noticed her in the grocery store and she was like, oh my God, that's the person I know. Well, this was going to end up being Keely. So she goes and starts talking to her, right? And they become like, whatever, like not friends, but I guess just like acquaintances in that moment. And they're like, hey, do you want to go out, after we get our groceries and just go chill out in the car and hang out, basically. So that happens. We go in the car, me, my girlfriend at the time, Shelby, and then this new girl, Keely. So we're in the car, we're all hanging out, we exchange numbers. We pretty much all become friends in that moment. And which is also really crazy because in life, there's not very many people where you kind of walk up and just become friends. Maybe at that time, I kind of thought it was interesting, but I didn't realize like how impactful it was because as you go through life, that doesn't happen. So I make friends with them, right? I make friends with Keely. And over the next basically like year to 2, 3 years, we hang out. I mean, not a ton immediately, but over time we start hanging out more and more. Okay, so at this time, I was living in like a jam house basically. Like me and all of my friends had all moved out of our houses, and we had got like my friend had his grandma's house basically, and she was barely charging us anything, which is hilarious at the time because the rent was like $400, but we could barely pay that because nobody was working a job, everybody was broke. Like I tried to get a job. Me and my friend, Devin, his grandmother actually owned the house. We were basically the only ones who were working for most of the time, which is also pretty hilarious because we were making like $600 to $800, but we weren't going to pay for everybody else. I mean, that's just not going to happen. We'd both rather just kick them out or go get a different place, So we tried to make everybody kind of pitch in equally. So I'm living there for a few years, dating Shelby at the time. We still know Keely, and occasionally Keely's coming over because we're having, jam sessions and music sessions. So everyone there is, partying, having a good time, writing music, and we're all becoming friends. Well, at that time, Keely was actually talking to a lot of like my bandmates and other friends at the time, and everybody was just kind of like mingling and having a good time and just growing up, basically, right? So what happens is at some point, Devin and I basically think like, hey, we should move to Austin because Houston sucks. It didn't really suck, but we thought it did. And so we were like, we should all move to Austin. So I don't believe Keely came with us initially. She came later, but we
A year later.
but we all ended up getting together and moving to Austin, and we had no money. Keep in mind, we couldn't even pay $400 to $600 for rent. So we're going to Austin to get an apartment, but there's like 3 or 4 people. So we're all gonna pile into an apartment and we're gonna make it work because that's what you gotta do. Sometimes you gotta group up with a bunch of your friends and split rent and save your money.
Jobs.
And so that's what we were doing. So we get to this apartment, right? And it's like basically the first one we see. Like we drive to Austin, we barely have enough gas to get there. We got everything loaded in these cars. And the very first apartment we see accepts us, and we jump in, and here we go. We're on our way, living in Austin now. So everybody's got to get jobs. I get a job at a pizza place delivering pizzas. Shelby, what was Shelby doing? Shelby was like,
Dog washing.
she was doing the dog washing. She was like working at a kennel, like just taking care of like pets basically. Which is another thing I've realized. Most of the women that I talk to are super into pets. So that's just an anecdotal thing. But anyways, so I'm working the pizza place. She's doing the dog washing, and we have this roommate. He's really into My Little Ponies, and he's Shelby's friend from back in the day. His name is Andrew. So Andrew's living there. Me and Shelby, things are going good. We're paying rent, no problems. Well, basically push comes to shove, and I don't exactly remember how the falling out happened, but Andrew Taylor is basically getting like uncomfortable. He wants to like move out or something like that. He's getting very upset. So we're gonna be down a person and we need a roommate. Okay. Well, Shelby is like, oh, well, what about Keely? Keely could be like a good addition and she could move in. Now, at this point, there's like no romantic anything really between me and Keely. Like we may subconsciously kind of be like, oh, that person's really cool and we're good friends, but we're not dating, we're not sleeping together. I don't even think we kissed at that point. No, we didn't kiss. So there's no physical anything. She's just moving in to the apartment. So she ends up moving in, and again, things go well.
With Shelby at that point.
And she's very good friends with Shelby, and things are going very well, right? Everyone's again just hanging out, doing music. At that point, there was like a lot of like art and music being done because we had really annoying jobs, so nobody really wanted to work their job. Everybody just wanted to come home and do whatever else. So so everyone's working. Keely moves in. She gets Andrew's old room. I mean, the My Little Pony stuff and whatever else, it was not working. The ponies was not cutting it. So Keely moves in, right? And again, things are going good. Everyone's doing art. But eventually we come to a crossroads where this apartment is just no longer working. One of the major things is my friends, remember the bandmates, they had all moved in across from us. So me, Shelby, Keely had an apartment, and then my bandmates, they all had an apartment across the way. Well, they had a massive falling out, just like alcohol, drugs, whatever else, just spiraled out of control, right? So they all kind of like are losing the apartment. They're all breaking up. So I think like somewhere along, I think we might have stayed, a few more months, but somewhere along that kind of that realm. Oh yeah, and also the apartment was very gross. There was like a gang war and bed bugs and like cockroaches. I mean, it just wasn't a good place. I mean, this was like 2010, 11 Austin. It's a little bit different now, but yeah, it wasn't the best place, right? Yeah, but literally a gang war. Like we were sitting there one day and I hear like fighting and I'm like, whoa, cool. So I open the window and there's like 20 people like with like sticks and brooms and whatever else just like attacking each other, and the police had to come in and they were banging on the door trying to get people to answer, but they never answered. They just hid in the house and like postponed it, and then the cops eventually went away. I'm sure they got evicted, but it was crazy. It was just not a good place. So I think that was part of the reason why we kind of got out of there. So we leave that place and we get a new apartment, and then it's still in Austin. It's a few miles away, maybe like within 10-mile radius. So we move into this new place. I believe Keely came with us.
No, y'all broke up when that lease ended or whatever.
Okay, yes, actually, so this is what was happening.
Yeah.
So
And
when
me and Shelby moved in with Robbie to that other apartment.
right, okay, so basically during that little falling out with my bandmates where everything just kind of exploded,
Yeah.
I ended up like we like basically Shelby and I we were not seeing eye to eye. And actually, now that I'm thinking back to it, there were like a few moments when like
Yeah.
there was like some fighting. Like there was one moment when she was doing a birdhouse or something like that, and she had like this whole thing. She painted the whole birdhouse, and then she was asking me what I thought about it. And I said it was great. She appreciated it or whatever. But during that whole interaction, she like second guessed herself. She wasn't blaming me in any way. She was just second guessing like why she did this birdhouse. She had a manic episode, basically crashed the birdhouse, and then I was getting upset that she was getting upset, basically like just freaking out like over nothing. So there was just a lot of moments like that. Like she would just fly off the handle, whatever. Okay, so we're kind of taking a break at this point. We're like, we need to like give it a rest. Okay, so Shelby and Keely and their friend Robbie, they go get an apartment still in Austin. That's what it was. And so I'm like, I think I'm gonna move in with my bandmates. Like one of them ended up moving away, or he got arrested, and so I was like, I'm gonna kind of move in with you guys for him, and we'll keep it going.
Yeah, you were like living with Derek or something.
Yeah, so we kept it going for a few more months. I think I quit the pizza job. I was just busking at that time. Like I was just walking around Austin. I think it's illegal now. But I was walking around Austin and just playing drums or playing guitar or singing or doing whatever and just getting tips. And that's how I was paying rent. And so I did that, and that did not last, obviously. And eventually I started talking with Shelby again. But it was under the idea that we're not going to be like exclusive, right? Like we're just kind of going to keep talking to each other and letting this develop naturally and see what happens. And that, to me, meant just work on music and chill out at my friend Darren's house and just do my own thing. She was very interested in going and like trying to find new relationships and talk to new people. So she had already met, like 4, 5, 6, 7 people, and I had talked to almost nobody. I think I maybe slept with one person or something like that, but it was nothing at all type of relationship, just physical. So she's already had all of these interactions, right? So I'm coming back over there, and I think like during that summer, during that year, I'm starting to kind of like still talk to Keely, right?
I'm giving you rides. That was our relationship.
Yeah, I'm starting to interact with Keely a little bit more, right? Like we were smoking together, we were talking, she was helping me and taking me places,
We were hiking.
and so we're hiking and we're interacting together. But again, we're not dating. Nothing has happened yet. We're just interacting with each other. So we're just being friends, being more friends, deeper friends. So after we do that, at some point, I get into the car with her, and then I just attempt to make out with her, and she's totally down for it. And so from that,
I told you I wanted to kiss you.
From
you just took me.
from that little random makeout session, right after we were hanging out, we just ran into the woods and just spent all night in the woods. We swam in this like crazy river.
Yeah.
We were just like tripping out in the woods all night long, just having fun, and it was great.
Like our chemistry.
It was great. It was so much fun that we actually broke the key to the car trying to get back into it. We put it into the car and it broke.
We had $200 locksmith.
So we had to just sit there and wait for the locksmith to come, and we were just joking the whole time, like having a great time, like it was no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was so crazy. Like during that whole period, I had broken my collarbone.
Mm-hmm.
So I had got this job cleaning pools.
Oh yeah, Keely's still living with Shelby at this point.
Keely's still living with Shelby. Okay, so I had this job cleaning pools, and it was paying really good. I had to just like take some little test and figure it out and do like the chemistry or whatever, how to treat the pools. It was really easy and it paid good money, and that's a really easy job. So if you need a job, you should do that. But I got hired doing that, and I was getting ready to like, I was celebrating. I was like, dude, I just got hired. Like, oh my god, amazing! Like, let's go ride the bike around. So I'm riding my bike, and in Austin, there's like these really deep hills, and so I get on the hill, and right when I get to the bottom, there's like a ramp. So I hit this ramp, and I just boom, like my collarbone puss out of my arm, and I'm just like incapacitated on the ground. Oh, help me! Some guy comes up and he's like, "What's wrong, bro?" And I'm like, "Dude, please call the ambulance. Like, my arm's messed up. I'm in pain." He goes and gets me a glass of water, comes back, gives me the water, and then he just leaves. He never calls the ambulance, nothing. He just gave me a glass of water and left. I never saw the guy again. He was like an angel of death. So I'm sitting there with the water. I'm like, well, I might as well sip this water and like try and get my phone out. I'm trying to get my phone out. I'm like calling my friend. I think I got him on the phone. I was like, Jimmy, like, I'm on the ground. My collarbone's messed up. Like, bring the car. We need to go to the hospital. Mm-hmm. So when he's on the way, some other cars are driving by, and I'm trying to motion. I'm like, hey, help me. And they're just like, get up. Why are you on the ground? Get up.
You're just like a homeless guy.
I'm like, my collarbone's blown out. They're like, get up. What? So anyways, Jimmy eventually gets me, goes to the hospital. They do nothing. Tylenol 3. Go back to the apartment. I'm all messed up now, chilling out. So Shelby comes over, and in my mind, I'm thinking she's gonna be like tending to me, like caring for me. So she comes over there and she's like, "Do you can I see your phone? I need to text my dad." And so like in that moment, I was kind of like, that's like a really weird request, you know, but it was just so in the moment. I was just like, yeah, here's my phone. So she takes it, and then she walks outside, and then all I hear is like a scream, like blood curdling scream, just like, ah, and then I hear my phone being smashed. And so she had gotten a text message from one of the roommate's girlfriends or something. Like, she had gone through my phone, like, because my collarbone was messed up, so it was like hard for me to take a shower and get my phone and get everything. So during that process of me being like healing, she went and stole my phone, went through it, got like the information that I had sent to Keely and sent it to Shelby. But again, remember, me and Shelby already have this idea that it's like we're not dating. We're kind of just talking to other people. She's already talked to a whole group of people. I've talked to almost no one. Okay, so Keely's like really the first person that I'm actually like trying to like start again to talk to somebody. So she gets the information. She goes back to her apartment. Now Shelby's still living with Keely, and she just broke my phone and screamed. So she's on the warpath, and she beelines straight to the apartment where Keely is at. Well, when she gets there, Keely is like an artist, right? So she has all of her paintings there. She's got all of her all of her art stuff, basically. I mean, all of her stuff is there. It's her apartment, but mainly all of her art stuff is on the walls and stuff like that. So Shelby gets there, and she just starts destroying everything, just ripping stuff, throwing it off the walls. They start getting into a fist fight. I'm coming up to the house, and I can see them. They're just fighting. They're just attacking each other, basically. So once that happens, Shelby basically, she's very upset with me, but she kind of creates like this idea that she's going to try and work stuff out with me, and we're going to like, you know, work stuff out or whatever. But it's obvious it's just not working. You know, it's just like there's just so much chaos here. This is just insane. So we basically explode after that point. You know, at some point, I'm just like, I need to get out of here. Like, this is just absolutely insane. I just need to go back to Houston, basically, and just go chill. So I go to Houston. I chill out there for cool down. I mean, that's a story in itself, but I get to Houston, bail on that explosion, and just kind of like calm down, go back to my parents' house, just try and like regroup, like get back centered, okay? So I get there, and then my friend is like, hey, do you want to come to New Orleans? I got a place over here. You should come out. So I get to New Orleans. Again, these are stories for another time, so I just want to get to the point of this video, which is why, you know, the relationship can lead to something greater. Okay, anyways, so again, I'm heartbroken, devastated. This is just emotionally taxing. I've never been through anything like this, so it's very difficult to deal with. So eventually, I moved to New Orleans. I moved in with my friend, stay there for a while. Eventually, I start talking to Keely again. I start conversing with her again. We've always been friends. We have a connection, and I invite her out to come, maybe try again. Just see what happens between us. Well, this is
like we were gonna have to pay half the rent.
Yeah, she's gonna come. She's gonna come move in with me, and we're gonna see what happens.
We weren't gonna be in a relationship.
So we want to try and work on us, but we just want to see what happens. We just want to feel it out.
Nothing
We want to feel it out.
Yeah.
So she gets there, and then I pretty much traumatize her, and she's not holding a gun to my head, but I pretty much traumatize her and do a bunch of stupid stuff because it's like essentially I was just really still kind of figuring out where I was. So I shouldn't have engaged with her until I had kind of figured my life out. But that was a life lesson that you had to figure out, right? So
hurt people.
So I figured that out. Okay, she comes, she moves in. I'm kind of still being single, talking to other girls. She's kind of interested in being with me, so she's not talking to anybody. So eventually she's just like, okay, well, this is a waste of time. So she leaves. This not the end. Okay, so she leaves and she goes back to Houston or wherever she went. She goes to some other state. Okay, so I'm still doing my own thing. I do it for a while, but one thing leads to another. A few more years pass. I mean, this is over from beginning to this point. We're talking about almost 10 years. Okay.
Why would you go into the other ex?
Because it's a story for another time.
Okay.
So eventually the New Orleans things happen. I'll make a video on all the crazy stuff that happened there, but basically New Orleans again explodes, kind of like Austin. Okay, so it just pushes me away. So I leave. I go back to Houston. Okay, so I go back there, and I'm getting off of probation at this time, which again is another story. I'm getting off probation. I'm kind of just trying to make friends and just hang out and play music again and just restart. So I'm restarting. I'm making friends, and I start talking to this girl. And I think her name is Amber. So I'm talking to this girl. She seems really cool. I can't remember where I met her. I met her at like a house party or something like that. We start going to shows, and then she's friends with these other two people. I forget their name, but they were great. They were all cool. It was like a cool group. So we're going around to like little places. We're hanging out. We're drinking. Yada yada yada. I'm not interested in her yet. I'm just talking to her, right? Just getting acquainted. Well, long story short, it's not exactly, it just didn't work out, and that's a story for another time, but it just didn't work out. It wasn't what I expected. It wasn't what I had planned.
Just leave it at that.
But she was cool.
Try not to get canceled.
It just didn't work out. So during that time, actually me and Amber are gonna go out to a show. I called Keely because it was gonna be a cool show. I was like, Keely, you should come to this. This is gonna be sweet. Also, help me talk to this girl, and you just come out. It'd be fun.
Remember, my ex was there.
Just come out and be fun. And so at the time we go to this show, and when we get there, it's me, Keely, Amber. I think there might have been someone else there. I don't remember.
Her name was Jenny.
Oh, and this girl named Jenny, and her boyfriend or guy she was talking to.
Us 3 girls and 1 tall guy.
So we go there. We're all having fun, whatever. Keely actually sees her ex-boyfriend from like a long time ago there. It's just like an ex type of night. Yeah, everyone's seen their exes.
Like, what the fuck?
So we're there. We're hanging out, listening to the music. Eventually, we leave, and I drop everybody off, and then Keely's gonna come home with me because she parked at my house, and then we're gonna take her home. Well, one thing leads to another, and she stays the night, and I think it was pretty much from that night she stayed. We just didn't stop talking from that point, and it literally has just been the last 3, 4, almost going on 4 years now that I've been dating her. But I've known this woman for almost like since 2010, 11, so 14 years, 13, 14 years, pretty crazy. But we've only been dating seriously 3 or 4. But
so long.
The whole point of this story was just to show you that so much of my life was on like this other person. And it was a lot of learning, and it taught me a lot. And there was a lot of very painful experiences that made me be like, oh my goodness, like, am I ever going to survive this? Am I a good person? Like, what am I doing? But at the end of it, and actually through that process, it led me into now the best relationship of my life. And that if you don't give up and you keep moving forward, you know, the painful experiences, they actually do teach you, and more than teach you, sometimes they're like, they literally just lead you to the best experience. Like you could go and do these good experiences, but it wouldn't be like, you don't know what the absolute best is, but I can tell you right now, it's like, it's just going to be the best thing you've ever experienced. So you sometimes just have to move through the painful experiences to get to the absolute best stuff, right? So that was the story. Don't give up. Keep going through it. Just try and keep a good head on your shoulders, and try and be very patient. And don't blow up and fly off the handle. I mean, you may move across the country, you may lose all your money, you may lose your car, whatever. I mean, stuff can be replaced. Like, you're gonna make everything back. You're gonna keep going on. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, just keep moving on, because amazing experiences literally may be just around the corner of some really terrible experiences. So there you go. That's the story for today.